All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously captivating memoir excerpt that explores something I think we've all experienced: how those fleeting, almost comet like relationships, what we're going to call spark friendships, completely shape our destinies. We'll be looking at the story of a guy named Craig Perkins. He was a high school friend of the author, and man, he totally embodied this concept. We're not just looking back with rose tinted glasses here, we're really digging into the anatomy of a catalyst. You know, that specific kind of person who just crashes into your life and absolutely alters your trajectory forever.
Right off the bat, the author sets up this really fascinating contrast. On one hand, you've got friends who arrive quietly, right? The slow burns, the steady presences that sort of just build up over time. But then you've got the other side of the coin. Friends who arrive like an absolute spark. They're unforgettable, hilarious, totally fearless, and just bursting with life. And the narrator's friend, Craig Perkins, oh, he was 100% that second kind. He definitely wasn't the type to just fade into the wallpaper. From the second they met in their junior year of high school, he was an immediate, undeniable presence.
Which actually brings us to this incredibly powerful line from the text: he wasn't just funny, he was alive. It's such a simple sentence, isn't it? But wow, it carries so much weight. From that junior year onward, Craig didn't just rattle off jokes. He brought this totally unique magnetic energy. The source tells us his sense of humor could instantly disarm fear, completely dissolve tension, and turn literally any ordinary Tuesday into a story you tell for years. I mean, have you ever met someone like that? Someone whose mere presence just makes the air feel a little bit more electric? That was Craig. So let's move into section 1, dancing on the edge, turning danger into joy. To really wrap our heads around Craig's impact, we need to jump into a very specific memory in an Orange County mountain park. Picture this. The narrator and his brother, John, are out exploring, and they find themselves on this incredibly narrow trail carved directly into a cliff face. We're talking barely 2 feet wide, with a sheer, unforgiving drop right on one side. The text vividly describes how the brothers just froze. They were absolutely terrified, treating every single step as this cautious, hyper-conscious negotiation with gravity, 1 foot placed with absolute painstaking precision. It was one of those moments of pure, paralyzing, heart-in-your-throat fear.
But then, here comes Craig. And the text puts it so perfectly. He didn't walk the trail, he danced it. While the two brothers are practically paralyzed, Craig's reaction is just completely, wonderfully outrageous. He doesn't just walk confidently past them. He actually kicks his feet over the ledge, one after the other, and starts belting out "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" out loud, like he's performing on Broadway instead of literally flirting with death on a 2-foot mountain ledge. It was absolutely ridiculous. But more importantly, it was just so entirely Craig.
This whole scene brilliantly illustrates how Craig wasn't just some quirky guy from Orange County. He was a walking, talking archetype who showed exactly how to reframe fear. He took a genuinely terrifying situation and flipped it into comedy. He turned literal danger into pure joy, taking a lethal cliff edge and making it a playground. In that single, fleeting moment, he became the ultimate symbol of being fearless, playful, and utterly himself. He absolutely refused to let the environment dictate his emotional state. Instead, he forced his own joyful reality right onto the environment.
Moving right along to section 2, documenting the ocean's soul, the courage of the wedge. Now, Craig's fearless streak extended way beyond mountain cliffs. He had this profound devotion to the ocean that matched the narrator's own passion. But true to form, Craig did it entirely his own way. He was a kneeboarder, which was a rare breed even back then, and he rode with a bold, totally unique style. He wasn't just surfing your average beach breaks either. He rode the wedge on big days. And if you know anything at all about California surf culture, you know the wedge is notorious. Tackling it requires immense courage, exceptional skill, and a complete willingness to just get violently tossed around by one of the most dangerous waves on the coast. It is definitely not for the faint of heart. But Craig, he absolutely thrived in that chaotic energy.
And he didn't stop at just riding the waves. He actually became a surf photographer. The contrast here between how most of us experience the ocean versus how Craig did is wild. Where a typical perspective means, distant observation of danger, avoiding the rough surf, and watching safely from the shore, Craig was literally right in the thick of it. His perspective was from the inside of a barrel, surrounded by the explosion of whitewater, capturing this incredibly intimate dance between the surfer and the wave.
He moved way beyond just participating. He documented the hidden, breathtaking soul of the ocean itself, bringing that exact same cliff dancing intimacy into the most dangerous waters imaginable. Let's transition over to Section 3, the ledger of friendship, the lasting impact of fleeting connections.
So you might be wondering, where is Craig now? Well, the narrator notes that he actually hasn't seen Craig since the late 90s. That was when his brother John randomly heard Craig's unmistakable animated voice in a San Diego fast food joint. Word on the street is he now lives in Mexico, which honestly perfectly fits a guy so dedicated to adventure and the ocean. But here's the thing. While Craig physically drifted out of sight, he never drifted out of the narrator's heart. He stayed as a guiding star in what the text beautifully refers to as the ledger. He taught the narrator that courage can be totally playful. It doesn't always have to be grim and serious. He proved that humor dissolves fear, showed that the ocean is an amazing teacher, and demonstrated that true friendship doesn't actually require constant daily contact to stay valid. He proved some people are just flat out unforgettable. And maybe most profoundly, he taught that joy is an actual legitimate form of wisdom.
This brings us to our final section, Section 4, the lasting mark, destiny, and joy. Because you see, this story goes way beyond just some nostalgic recounting of a high school buddy. It's fundamentally a deep dive into human influence. It really explains why these specific people act as permanent guides in our lives. When you have a spark friend, their humor actively shapes your worldview moving forward. Their courage actually gets woven right into your own nature. The things you experience together, like surfing in this case, become your lifelong definition of freedom. It shows us that friendship isn't just some casual social contract. It's a vital, living part of your destiny. And it totally elevates joy from just a fleeting emotion to an actual spiritual force. Craig wasn't just a friend, right? He was a masterclass. There's this absolutely beautiful passage in the text, referred to as Zoran's Whisper, that I think perfectly distills the ultimate wisdom of this entire excerpt. It reads, "Traveler, Craig danced on the cliff because he trusted life." I mean, just let that sink in for a second. He trusted life. The passage goes on to say that some souls arrive specifically to show you how to laugh at fear, how to embrace the unknown, and how to live with pure joy. Craig was one of those early guides, serving as a permanent reminder that true courage doesn't have to be this heavy, burdened thing. Actually, scratch that. It shouldn't be. It can be incredibly lighthearted as long as you fundamentally trust the journey. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take a second and reflect on your own journey. Who was your spark? Who are the people written in your own ledger? We all have those catalysts, right? The people who arrived in a flash of light, taught us how to dance on our own metaphorical cliffs, and left a permanent mark on our destiny long after they moved on. So think about those unforgettable guides today, and ask yourself, how are you carrying their lighthearted courage forward in your own life?